Docking request accepted.
Good morning, New Eden! Today is October 6, 2025, and this is the Federation Frontline Report. I'm your host, Frozen Fallout, and today we have a really awesome guest that's with us today, running for CSM once again, on the CSM currently, Youngpuke2. How's it going, man?
I'm doing well. Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, so tell me, let's get into what you're running for CSM. Just giving us kind of a brief overview, and then we'll kind of go deeper into that later. But if you could give us, I guess one of the big questions that I've kind of been asking actually is, what is the CSM to you, and what do you think the CSM can accomplish? And maybe if you have something that you've seen accomplished by the CSM throughout the years, even by yourself possibly.
Yeah, that's a great question. So I think the CSM is basically a advocate body that helps CCP essentially steer the rudder of the direction that they're going. We don't tell CCP like what to do. We can offer suggestions, but we collaborate with them on achieving their goals and aspirations. Over the past year, we have worked on a variety of projects, specifically, in relation to removing surgical strike nerfs, which were like resist nerfs that were in the game, to improving skyhook rating, to improving faction warfare and low-sec. Um, and essentially, our goals is to iterate and improve on the space, and to make sure that things are helping others and ecosystems to thrive again. There's been a lot of neglect in a lot of areas, and so this past year, my goal has been to improve those areas, and I run as a representative for those people that may not have a seat usually on the CSM. Usually, a lot of the slots are taken up by bigger entities. Those bigger entities, may not understand or care or really appreciate the difficulties the smaller guys have. So my goal is to be their representative and bring their voices, even how big or how small they are, onto the table. Or to the table at least.
Absolutely awesome. And I've been hearing a lot of really good things about the stuff that you've kind of been putting out there. I know that I've even seen, on Reddit when you posted that you were running again, that people were like, I was a little bit upset about when they picked Young Puke, but now I'm like, this guy fucking loves this game. like, um, I've
Yeah,
seen, you've churned a lot of people to see the work and the hard work that you've been doing throughout the entire time. And there's chitter chatter out there that not every CSM member is dedicated, as much to the game as some that in the beginning but real life kind of always gets in the way of everything. But you've been able to manage it very well, and that you've really brought about a really good voice for low-sec that was really needed in the CSM.
yeah. I think low-sec has been historically neglected on the CSM. I mean, I think we had Arzian, CSM 17, CSM 18. We didn't have anybody really, and then CSM 19. You had a lot of low-sec voices or low-sec adjacent voices. McFight Master,
Hmm.
Drake Idon, Seto, and myself, and like we've all interacted with lowsec. Dujek is another good voice. Um, and it's not
I just
about
had Dujek on. He was really awesome.
yeah, I love Dujek. Dujek's the man. He is a very compassionate gentleman.
Absolutely,
Uh,
yeah. He was really pleasant to talk to. Just relaxed. It's somebody that I could see hanging out with.
yeah, we hung out a bit during the summit. He actually, it was funny during the summit. He snuck in a Brave sticker in my wallet, and I'm like, "Whoa! Like, I just met you, dude, and you're like sneaking into my wallet, brother." And I thought it was funny. It was funny, but I still have the sticker actually.
Healthy.
And so I think there is a lot of good advocacy work that happens on the CSM. I mean, specifically, like even like we have different walks of life, like Kaz and I mean Angry Mustache and I previously, like I chatted with him all the time, figuring out like how can I continue his work onto the CSM year over year, because I don't think the CSM is like you finish your term and the work is done. I think the work continues across time
Mhm.
because you have access to like a wiki page, and the wiki page people post things, and there's a lot of good ideas there. And just because like someone is off the CSM doesn't mean we should not press also those ideas again. And I think also viewing it as like a team-based enterprise. So um instead of an enterprise that's like, oh, I'm only selected by my alliance and I'm going to support my alliance causes, really, especially selectees need to be like representatives of the community. And even if it's an alternative viewpoint, those viewpoints should be articulated, um, even at the high table, because otherwise CCP may not hear those voices, or they may hear the voice, but they may view it as a noise versus a signal. And I think that's
Mhm.
very hard for CCP to differentiate at times.
Absolutely. There's, I mean, just in general, that's I think a human problem that.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah. Not just that, but like think about like the most recent the 90% loot change, right? Like
mhm.
people gave
Oh
feedback,
yeah,
right? For the Crypto event, a lot of people didn't want it to go away, and so then we found like a middle ground solution, which was we advocated on behalf of the player base, and then we got it changed, right? If
that's
only they could
huge,
use.
man. The switching it to low sec and 0.0 just makes sense. Like,
Yeah.
and as a low secker myself, like this is awesome. Like, you know how many like 6 billion drops that we have that like
Yeah.
it like goes in puff of not, like there's 200 million left at the end of it, and 6 billion funds a good chunk of my fleets. Like,
Yeah. Exactly. I mean, it's just like it's such an important ecosystem, low sec ecosystem thing, because like it's very hard to make ISK in low sec or value in low sec, right? Like a lot of our money comes from PvP. So if you
yes,
get 90% loot drops, right? Like that's pretty fucking cool. Because then you can actually make a lot of ISK while you PvP, and it's a unique opportunity. I'm glad that we fixed it, but I think also it's really cool. I haven't tried the sites right yet, but I'm probably gonna do it tomorrow, or especially this weekend. Is like there's new sites, there's new PvE
yeah.
sites in low sec, then there's like different type of sites you can do. I mean, it's cool. Like it's like there's a lot of changes, and I really hope CCP continues this push on like novelty PvE in low sec.
I mean, I do
That's
feel
also what
like
my.
Losec has had gotten a lot of love, especially in the faction warfare department in the last like 4 years. Basically, is that it's been, and I because I remember when I started up this podcast, I was like, dude, they're coming for faction warfare. They're gonna fix it. It's a huge playground for new players, basically, in that it needs to have like a much more, like a lot of the stuff that me and Joe Bain, when I started up this, were advocating
Mm-hmm.
for, were what was implemented. And we were super excited when all the first changes started coming out about front lines, which I think has greatly fixed the war zone, just in and of itself. But more recently, I do have to say that the pirate invasion, everything is kind of really shooken up, low sec for sure. And it's been a relief to see that CCP is seeing the value in low sec, and the idea of it's a lawless, like, you can kind of have an empire, like there's like snuff that's around and they'll drop on you, but they can't control what's going on in that space, especially with the mechanics that we have, that make low sec really unique. So it's really great to have an advocate that is pushing for. I'm really happy we got this 90% loop. I kind of feel like this should be permanent. Um, but let's take a jump back here real quick and just kind of a change of gears, and let's go back in the Wayback Machine. When did you get involved in EVE Online, and why and how?
Uh, so what I did, when I began, I am an old low sec player. I'm a boomer. I like sit in my lawn chair, think about like my rocking chair, thinking about low-sec these days. So I started out probably seriously in, I don't know, like I started playing Eve. The count like Puke was created in 2010. I played around with Just K, which is like a Galente faction warfare under Dean Wispa. And then basically I've been long-term Galente all the way through forever. Um, Flew with Teak Stalker a little bit, and then Charles Issier, and he's now in Plow, the Alliance Executor of Plow. Back then he was an Ardra with Mr. Sopsops and all the other boys. We have a lot of Ardra guys in my alliance and former like Galente, old Galente, like Mr. My Time Is Now, absolute legend. I think it's like top 3 still Galente all time, but maybe top 2. No, maybe it's XG, maybe it's Galente Jesus. I forget. But so basically, I started out in Galente faction warfare. I got trained up in that environment. Took a break from the game, came back in 2016. Went back to Aderon Robotics, and then Fed Up and all that stuff. And after Fed Up, or Aderon Robotics, I think that's actually Fed Up already left. Aderon was back then in Fleet, and so I joined Intergalactic Space Hobos. I then, after that, we formed Sedition 1.0. After Sedition 1.0, I joined null-sec Shalupin, which is a sneaky elite pirate group, which was a lot of fun. And then eventually went to Frat for a little bit, then go to No Forks Given, and flew a bunch of dock workers and No Forks and all the old low-sec guys for a long time, and got into a lot of dread brawling. Then Uprising hit, and we reformed Sedition with our founder Ronan, or Cam, depending how you know him. And then what happened was that we became the leading force of Galente for a bit. We then restarted it, helped rebuild the militia, moved eventually to Angel Cartel because we wanted more USTZ mid-scale PvP, which is like between 40 to 100 people, and use capitals more frequently. As we left Galente Faction Warfare, we helped Ribbit form, which is a new bro Galente group. And so like the Tadpoles, which are now a strong independent Galente group, they're absolutely fantastic. Novak, Sam, Cole.
Absolutely.
They're fantastic people and really
they're
carrying
the only
banner
ones
of
keeping
Galente.
the North in check. It's like the Rivet
Exactly.
gets the North, and then General Galmil gets the South and lives out of Haydeles.
Yeah.
And we had a super successful run for a while, but we are on our back feet once again. We actually, there's a retreat that had to happen to El Perena, and it does look like Hallinan has fallen. But I'm kind of, to be honest, because, owning space doesn't really matter unless you're trying to dock somewhere, which does matter. Like, don't get me wrong. You can't live out of Hallinan now. But having it on my front door that's where I want to fight. Like, I just want to fight in Haydeles and Fleet and Abood and Devon. So I'm kind of like, bring it, guys. I'm always like, just guys, turtle up. Let's just go to Haydeles and let's just shoot people. That's what we want to do, right? Like, is that not what you're in Galente for, is to shoot people? Like, because that's, like, I've never felt like there was a PvE alliance in faction warfare. It's usually always been focused around, I just want to kill somebody, but this gives me a means to do this.
Yeah, I mean, it's just, like, I think that's the culture of Galente, essentially. It's like, we have always been the underdogs. Camel doesn't like to hear it, but we are faction warfare on hard mode. Yeah. We've always fought outnumbered. Galente, whether it's
day one Galente. So yeah, it's day fucking one, man.
Day one, dude. I mean, and that's what people don't get. Like, people are like, "Oh, dude, Amar's hard, Mimitar's hard, Galente, dude, Galente, no Jita,
no Jita,
literally no Jita, right? You literally don't have access to like half of the market, right? You got to use ult. So if you're a new bro, it's really, really tough. Not just that,
tough to
but the map
sell
favorability.
That to somebody.
Oh my god!
Just to say to them, like, you can't go to Jit anymore. They're like, I just undocked and got blown up. What happened? It's like, oh, you're.
And they don't know, and then they join Kaldari or whatever, So like, I think the shipcaster location sucks compared to Kaldari, right? I mean, uh, it's just extremely unfortunate, like how these sort of structural problems within the Galente militia. And I spoke to UCSC, and we like went in depth about the differences and how LP stores and the geography of the map impacts the war zone, and how it's very pipe driven compared to the Marmimitar, which is more like, I don't know, chaotic, their map.
Hmm.
Um,
And more
and I mean,
pathways
more
to get
pathways.
around.
Yeah. And so I think Galente have like these key focal systems, but the issue is that there needs to be like iteration on the different LP stores so there's more parity between them. Because like right now we nerfed the ENI, right? And because we nerfed the ENI, Galente LP is crap. So if I'm a new player, I would much rather join Galent or Kaldari versus Galente. So I have Jita, I have all these other things.
I mean,
But I
every
don't think
broker
like you
I've ever seen since the beginning of time it's always been, since Pirates, have been involved. But even before that is, with Pirates, of course, first for the LP, and then it's the, Keldari's LP is almost always at the top because they have the PNI.
they have the
Like
PNI.
that's
Yep.
the thing that, like, when it comes to like the top purchase item of like how do you get rid of LP, you purchase the blueprint for building a dread. And
Yeah.
before we had that dread, it was the Raven Navy and Raven Scorpion, or Navy Scorpion, versus like the Dominix, Navy Dominix, and the Navy Megathron. Both good ships of and of themselves. But I remember distinctively when they changed the look of the Scorpion to look epic.
Yeah, I know.
That was like the day that like everything changed. Like it was like, man, Kaldari got a visual look over or move over, and it actually influenced the LP market by quite a bit. Because the Scorpion is actually a pretty Navy issue is actually a pretty badass ship.
Yeah, and not just that too, but like the aesthetic of Kaldari is actually. I don't want to go appease the Kaldari brethren too much, but I mean it's like what they're pushed. That's what new bros go, because it's like aesthetically pleasing. Even though I don't think so, green's a better fucking color. But you know what I mean? Like it's really hard to like, how do you balance it? Because you don't want to balance LP. You do not want to balance LP stores around chips. So how do you make it better? Like I think the I know, dude. Puke hates Galente aesthetics. It's fucking no. It's green and black all the way. Even though Angel Cartel's great. I love Angels. I
I do
also like
love
the
the
lore of Angels too.
Megatron, and the Nyx are two of the most epic looking ships, I think, in the game.
Yeah, I love the Mega Navy. We run the Mega Navy and everyone shits on us. Like, oh, Puke, the Mega Navy's fucking trash, bro. Why do you run it as an Alliance Doctrine? I'm like, bitch. Sorry. But you know what I mean? Like, it's fun. It looks cool. It has big rails. It goes fast now. You can suck it, right? Like,
Right.
it's such a, and you can put blasters on it, dude. Like, come on. And it's just it's so much fun. It's so much fun. It's just a fun ship, because then you have, but like the issue there with like blasters and rails, we can go into it. But either way, with like Fac War, like I think the past 3 years though have been absolutely, it's been steady iteration. Sure, there's issues with like AWACSing, LP store standings, and the legendary Lizard LP wallet. Yeah, dude, who's hating on Mega Navies, dude? Whoever's hating on Megas, dude, evil, dude.
Evil.
Blaster Megas are so much fun, and no, I just think in general, like it's very much a work in progress. I think Havoc made a lot of issues with AWACSing. I think raising the Angel standings that we did helped a lot. I think the rates of AWACSing has gone down overall, but I still think like there needs to be long-term goals in faction warfare. There needs to be better iteration in faction warfare. There needs to be just LP stores and tags. There's like all these like old issues in Fac War space uh, that sort of needs to get fixed. Um, and I think I've argued this for a long time, and ever since I got on, I've been arguing this. I said it during my summit presentation, and I ended it. There needs to be a third low-sec Fac War expansion that's focusing on PvE and low-sec, focusing on barriers to access to low-sec in faction warfare. Standings need an entire revamp. AWACSing needs to be fixed. There needs to be long-term to medium-term goals in faction warfare. Plexing is absolutely fucking dreadful. Nobody likes plexing. because it's you know you just spin around in a rat, and they'd be cool. Except for insurgency plexes are cool.
It's very
right?
hard to stream, to be honest.
It's
Like,
hard
you
to
know,
stream.
like, because you're
Yeah.
just, you know, at the very, you know, I do have to say that I do a lot of frigate combat with when I do solo, and I do find a lot of solo frigate combat in faction warfare. I've had multiple times where I've had like 30 minutes and I've got 3 fights, and I'm like, geez, fuck, like this is why I love faction warfare, like. But the,
Yeah,
you
I
know,
mean it's
overall, like anything above that is really, you know, like if you have anyewhat of a fleet, like basically you're just a fleet, you know, like pounding out a bunch of stuff waiting for something to happen. Like a lot of faction warfare fleets that I've, you know, been on. And you're one of the FCs that used to be a little bit more like when you formed a fleet, usually you were like, let's gather up and go like find something to murder that's like a, you know, like a big target that we can come and take
yeah.
down.
One of my
And
yeah,
go ahead.
go ahead. Oh, like one of my favorite fights, I think you remember like that group brought like a nag navy into a Plex. Maybe I can find the battle report. I think it was in Devon, and like we were having to kill this nag, and like they brought in blops. I think it was snuff or something, and like we were all like, "Don't leave, let's fight to the death." And we kept killing their blops, and the dread died, and it was so much fun. And it's like that's like the awesomeness of low sec PvP is that it's so organic, right?
Well,
You
one
just
of the
like you
big
just need a
things
hot
too
drug.
is that sometimes like snuff does drop, but snuff is not an invincible force to win on a like
Yeah.
tactical level of like, okay, so they dropped like billions of ISK worth of stuff. You killed more than your fleet is entirely worth by killing one of their ships. You know, because they're all of them are blinged out to be insanity. So like when it looks on a battle report, it's worth it to go throw like, you know, a fleet at them, and have some fun with it to take out. I mean, I've had multiple times where I've just thrown like 2 stabbers at one of their monitors, and like they dropped, but they dropped improperly, and I was able to kill the monitor. They killed both of my stabbers, but okay, like I'll take that kill any day.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely agree. Like, I just think it's just such a fun area. I love strategic objectives, but I'm totally willing to just undock something dumb and just have fun. You know, like you don't have to always super try hard all the time. Sometimes, you know, if you want to drop your blops and you risk it, we have a guy, you may have heard of him, Dirty Mike. He has a polarized Marshall he was using. I think he still has one. And it's just like stuff like that. Like people just want to have fun and enjoy themselves, and you lose it, you buy another one. Like what's the big deal? Um,
And there is
and sure that
money in low sec. That's the one thing that I find really interesting is that um, I feel like there needs to be more draws to get people to come into low sec because that is beyond what they have for hid. It kind of feels like it's more of a hidden money that you can make in faction warfare. Like a day one alt can make insane amount of ISK comparatively to the standard path of making ISK, even when it comes to like exploration and stuff like that. Like just running some plexes in a day one to like, you know, once you get through I mean, you do have to, if you have somebody teaching you, showing you how to do it, you can really fast track into like making a really solid amount of ISK per hour and being involved in a you know, like completely different gameplay that you never need to learn about what missions are or anything like that. Eve is such a unique game that allows you to like kind of jump paths if you have the right mentorship, I would say.
yeah, and I think like that's I've been mentored very well. I had a lot of really good low sec FCs that helped me out, taught me what I need to do, and now I don't know. It's like I feel comfortable putting hundreds of billions of ISK on grid, and I don't feel anything anymore. Remember when I dropped my first Dread fleet, and I felt so anxious and having jitter. I'm like, ah, you know, and like that's cool because like, but for me, I still get the jitters when I'm soloing in a frigate. You know, like I can have the biggest fleet, but if I'm in my worm, right, and then you're 1v1 and you get scrammed, you're like shit, right? And then you're like, and you start panicking and stuff. It's so much, and that's like what I love about Eve is that there's so much novelty, uh, and I think it's such a awesome thing to see because it's so diverse. Like faction warfare, low-sec is so diverse. But I also think that you hit a very important point is that I think non-faction warfare low-sec PvE sucks. I think the mining
Right.
sucks outside of faction warfare, the level 5 missions suck, and you have like these graveyard regions. I call them graveyards of metanoxes. These are these whole
Right.
areas. There's only metanoxes. No one lives there. And there used to be all these small to medium groups like intergalactic space hobos with the Federation of Conifers, Shoot First, No Forks Given, Seek, Exidium, um, and like it's all this sort of stuff that's just fantastic. Like these small groups that just do not exist anymore. Um,
Yeah, it would
and
be
so
something
like
would be nice to have something that could change up low sec for just outside of faction warfare. I think that that's like one of the big like because like Empire Space, I feel like has been iterated on for 20 some odd years, and low sec has really besides faction warfare has really had very little iteration besides kind of adding a little bit of sites. Making some there are some things that are low sec exclusive that are pretty
it,
profitable. But there's no general draw to low sec. Like you
and
don't.
I agree, 100% agree. Yep. Like not just that though. I want to take it a point further. There's no draw and there's no way to build your group in those areas now. The only way people live is faction warfare space. What do you do in like Iridia? Like, what do you do in Solitude? Like, what is there to do? Nothing. So who do you draw there? Like people that want to, have maybe a quieter lifestyle who also want to PvP and live in low-sec. But like, it used to be rurals and moons, and like that's why people lived in those areas is to moon mine and have a lot of value of ISK.
Mhm.
Um, and I think a big problem is that there's like a lack of things to do. It's boring. It's like that's why these groups died in 2021 when scarcity hit, and we could pimp out mining, we can add some new PvE sites. Like look at the Crimson Harvest sites that are coming out.
Yeah,
I'm hearing great things other than the bugs, but like the sites are new and there's stuff to do. Imagine that was in like a quieter low sec areas where people can, live there and run these sites and then they fight over the sites and it's like organic small scale PvP. That'd be so cool. But like we just don't have that. And like I also think a really big problem is that where do you grow your small groups? Where do you grow your bigger groups? If you live in faction warfare, you're under a snuff or big AB umbrella. But if you're living in the more quieter areas, you could grow more. You could do stuff like it's an area for where small to medium groups can grow. And I
right.
think
You
we
can't
really
stamp
need
your
a
name on the map, but you should be able to kind of like, because I mean, when I first started out,
yeah.
one of the first things that we did is we found hay in a low sec pocket within like a high sec pocket within a low sec pocket within then the general high
Mm-hmm.
sec. Like it was, really kind of cool to have this kind of area that had like a little bit of low sec, a little bit of high sec, and we kind of built things out. But once you get to like understanding the actual game, we had to move. Like we ended
Correct.
up, having to go and be like, okay, we got to check out this empire space of what's kind of going on. You didn't want to really develop yourself in high sec or low sec unless you're. I mean, there are definitely groups out there who have always just been a high sec kind of group. Uh, but there's very few that are existing now that have lived in low sec uh, outside of the faction warfare areas, like you were saying, that a lot of
Yeah.
that have over time, because at first it's a novelty, like I gotta like play the system, like like the first 3 months of play when I was in 2006, there was still space that nobody really owned. Like we were the first to throw down Pocos in Hain. Like we held it for like a year or two. And then Shadow
That's true, you
Cartel
did.
came in for after X Meta, like just we couldn't handle
Oh
or
my
I
god,
went
you
to
said X
Goons.
meta, dude. You make me feel such a boomer, dude. Oh my
Dude,
god. That's like 10
X
years
I
ago.
I made X Meta. That's my corp. Like
Oh,
that's
really? Oh, wow.
yeah, so that's
That's
I
right.
yeah,
You're
so
right. Oh my
I
god.
ended up leaving to Goons before Fed Up. So I wasn't part of Fed Up. But I was the one that made us the Rottweiler dogs of the Valora
Uh,
chords. And so
that's
we were the ones that I just lived in Nenemelia and we were just like, what are we here for? Murder. I don't give a fuck. I just want to fucking murder people. And then I started partying with goons in what was that, like
That's right, because
2000,
then they went to
like
they eventually
2009, 2010 or something like that. I'd have
Did
to.
you ever run into KCLP? You know?
No, not that I'm familiar with. Not in that name, but everybody
Mm,
goes by different names as soon as you meet them in person. So
that's true. Yeah, I wonder. Maybe he probably is a later generation, but no, it's cool. Like that's what I'm saying. Like,
yeah,
because
and
there's so
when
many
you were talking
opportunities and
about
stories.
your corp history, I was like, oh man, I don't feel so bad about my corp history. Where I like you gotta like as you go on in the game, it's very easy to like go around and explore the different areas of the game, and kind of jump
Yeah,
around and see what's out there, and then settle down and build something big many years later. And I think you've done a really great job of doing that. Sedition is super awesome.
yeah, I'm very proud of what we have built. It took us 4 years and a couple rebuilds. We made a lot of mistakes, but I don't. It's not just me. It's our whole team. It's our
Yeah.
founder Ronan who founded the alliance. It is so many of these people. I mean, Gimli the Destroyer was a JREX CEO at one point, if you remember Gimli. Um, and Val was there. He's now in Few, the Wormhole group. And there's like a lot of history. Jet Surf. Now we have new directors like Eric Podine, Rotten Ralph, Matt VB, and like the corp in our alliance has like changed over the years, and it's a different vibe right now, and the vibe will change in 4 or 5 years, and you know I think the most important thing is that for me it's like we just go where the content goes,
It's just
and the content right now is in
unbelievable
null-sec.
how you can like look at things in multiple years for EVE Online and
Yeah,
not even like flinch at the
I know it's
concept.
weird.
It's something that I feel like is unique. And maybe I'm wrong. I didn't play a lot of WoW. I played a lot of Ultima Online, and that was a different. Ultima Online very much feels like EVE Online
Hmm.
in an old Roman setting, or
Yeah.
fantasy setting, because Ultima Online, and they even say they took a lot of inspiration from Ultima Online and made it fucking better, way better. Like
Hmm.
Ultima Online had a bunch of bottleneck, stupid ideas when it came in. Eventually, they had to split the PvP and PvE realms. Anyway,
Hmm.
I'm not going to get into it. But yeah, so I would let's take a real quick kind of change of gears though here, and
Yeah, of
kind of go
course.
back over to your campaign that you're running for CSM. What would you say are your top three things that you're fighting for currently, or will be fighting for in the CSM, that you think are your top three priorities?
AWACSing and faction warfare is number one. Um, Standings and ease of barriers of access to content generation is two. That means standings. That means LP transfer wallet. That means how do you integrate new bros into faction warfare? How do you get veterans to faction warfare? How do you get veterans into low sec? Building new groups into low sec. That's like that big umbrella. It's like how do you cultivate the ecosystem in npc-null and non-faction warfare low sec that has been historically very neglected. And then I think the third issue is I think honestly it's just like the continuation of ship balancing and communication from CCP. I think the past year has been very, very productive. I think I highly respect their process. I think they also think my ideas are good. Some of them maybe not. And I feel like there's a very good dialogue and discussion that's been happening. And I hope that I am able to continue that dialogue and being a representative for these smaller groups that don't have a seat at the table. Um, I mean, I think it's so integrated, right? Like, it's not like what three things. It's like LP store health, or it's like AWACSing, and it's like all these things that impact an ecosystem that I think is part of like their tech debt that they need to fix. But I think it's in time. Like in time, it will get better. Those would be my three things. So like barriers to content generation, AWACSing and faction warfare, and like general uh like working with CCP and improving their communication and their like ship balance iteration to make sure it's more consistent.
With the AWOXing issue that you're seeing in faction warfare, what is the kind of proposed solution that you're kind of pushing for, or and also including any compromises that you've kind of made over like or changes, revisions to your outlook that you've had on what it takes in order to change AWOXing in faction warfare? Because I think faction warfare has always relied upon the standings mechanism for this. And it's always been really crap. There is, I had multiple long talks with people within the Imperium on the highest levels about how do we just go into faction warfare and just build a corporation that just lets, like, the whole point of it is just to completely AWOX every single person, and just that's the entire point of it. It was like, it's doable. And I just didn't want to lead that effort. Eventually, I was like, this doesn't actually seem like it'll be fun. But it's always been such an easy thing to kind of do based on corporate. If you now with the incorporation of enlistment becomes a little bit more important if you're enlisting. But if you have your own corporation, you can have a group of AWOXers that will never get kicked from faction warfare. Like, what do we do to like stop those kind of activities, as well as people that just coming in from frat and just also spending the time and effort to have an alt run around and do the Sisters of Eve they would have to do
Fantastic question. The Angel Epic Arc.
Yeah,
or the Garissa's Epic Arc. Yeah, so great question. So my solution for AWOXing is three parts. The first part is specifically, I think that you have to target what they care about, and they care about the most is their LP generation. I think what should happen is that if you AWOX, you lose the ability to gain LP. I think that should last for at least a week. However, I am now toying with an idea in my head, which is that maybe what we do is that if anyone in your corporation AWOXes, and they do, you're unable to, your entire corporation can generate LP. So the entire corporation is then also liable. So if I attack, let's say you and I are both Glente, my corporation has 150 people, I AWOX you on purpose, that entire corp now cannot get LP for a week. And that entire corp is now labeled an AWOXing corp. That may be a little bit too far. Maybe you can stay on the individual level.
Well, you'd have to be careful about spies coming in and just, basically would shut down recruitment and be like,
yeah, then you kick that person,
let me get the TSA. Well, if you kick that person, you still have a week and then they just, within a week, they can figure out a way to get, if you're recruiting, unless you've got the TSA, wanding down everybody that comes into your corp.
Yeah, that's like the most extreme version. So I think like the middle ground solution is like individual basis. They don't get LP for a week. They get an AWOXing flag. And so that labels them like a pirate hat or something. I don't care. That says that they're an AWOXer. And then the second part of that one is how do I phrase it?
But you can also shorten like the time. So like, a week is a little bit rough, but like a day is like, that's enough to like.
You can do a day.
Because
I like to go to the extreme and then work back.
Yeah,
right.
I agree with those kind of concepts. I usually like when I start conversations about like things, I'm like, okay, the most extreme question for you: are you like for every personal person having a nuclear weapon? If you say yes to that, we might have a different conversation with you than if you say no.
So exactly right, and so like what I think like maybe a day. Whatever X amount of time, we can debate about it. But I think first they should have LP penalty that they cannot generate LP. Then they have a massive standings loss that is very aggressive. And then, however, there's this big confound problem. And that's why I think it's 3 steps. There's a lot of AoE weapons people in faction warfare can't use.
We are locked out for sure. Like there's multiple times that I've been like, I want to do some smart bombing. No.
Yep, you can't do it.
So, no, you can't do that. It's against the rules. Even when I'm part of Spectre Fleet or other kind of NPSI type stuff, just in case. just because, like, even with what it's at right now, and to be honest, I shouldn't be as worried about it. I'm just paranoid as fuck because I've had, like, well, like, I ended up killing a pod in my corporation, and I thought for sure that that we had set our standings so that pod killing was, anybody, PvP within the corporation was okay, but I had not. And so, like, pod killing is actually pretty rough. Like, you get like a huge standings hit for that. I had to like call up one of my buddies and be like, "Hey, I know you got like a 9.0 Galente stand. You haven't played the game in like a long time. Can you just come back and join my corporation that I've made? Then you'll be named the hero of the Federation frontline." Like,
Yeah, exactly. And so that's one of my goals. It's like I think there should be a fleet setting where you have
mm,
a fleet setting where you allow militia friendly fire, right? Let's have a corporation friendly fire or militia friendly fire. I think I think that is very helpful because then you can use AoE weapons with your fleet. Obviously, if you have like neutrals that are also in your militia, then you can invite them to your fleet, and it's okay. But I don't think that we should be punished for using AoE weapon systems. So we should have that option where friendly fire for militia is on, you know. And so I think that would be best case scenario. So basically, the whole system should be, in my opinion, right? I'm not a game designer. I don't want to design the game for them. That's their job. That's what they get paid
mm-hmm.
for. Is
Right.
right. So is that
You're not looking
you
for
have a panel?
specifics. You're looking for a general feel and idea of how
Exactly.
things should be. Because I mean, I feel like even when you get into specifics, you start getting into power gaming almost basically. Like, because that's where it's like I'm gonna do things for my corporation, for my alliance, for myself. Where it's like, if you just change this number to this, oh my god, everything is so much better for me.
Yeah. Um, and I think no, I think you're right. I think very much uh it's very, very much a big issue, but I don't think like a band-aid approach is going to work. CCPK1P1, CCP Okami has all talked about these issues and trying to create systems and areas of how these things could work more effectively, um, and publicly as well. So I think it is important that we um, encourage them to look for solutions. But I do think the three-step solution's the best. Like one of the good one would be like no LP generation. You get a flag for AWACSing, and then you allow a fleet POE or player setting where um player like a POE like militia friendly fire, uh so that you don't take standings losses
Hmm,
from
that's
faction warfare.
interesting. A little
I,
flag you could turn on. I could see
hmm
that.
And but yeah, I think those are the things that would be very, very helpful and good, and I think that was what we should um like that should be a possible solution. But again, we'll see what CCP does. I have my utmost faith they'll fix it or make it better. I don't think AWACSing should be completely eliminated. There just has to be a catch for it.
Yeah, it's interesting
Um,
because I don't really deal much with AWOXing. We have every once in a while we'll have somebody join, that does some AWOXing, or there's minor disputes that kind of happen over different things. But in general, comparatively, the one thing that's nice about being part of the Galette and the underdog is that we actually are the most likely to be like, I don't see this as a problem in the game, to be honest. But I know that it is a problem for other areas, and it's something that it's easy to kind of deduct why it's a problem. It's just there's no reason to AWOC Scalente, so there's way more of the other groups and other reasons why. Um, but what if we could go back to, you said that standings is another part of your crusade that you're kind of going on here. what, if you could tell us, is the things that you're kind of shooting for in standings? Is it a general overview? Or is it more focused just on the faction warfare aspect?
I think standings itself need to get revamped because I think there's barriers that are very much not acknowledged. For example, these trig Edencom guns, like, and these things in high sec that prohibit a lot of easy movement in space, I think that's bad. Another good example is that if I in PvE, if I am living in Angel Cartel space, so like the Bleak Lands area, I'm RPing as Angel Cartel, if I run DED sites, which are angel rats in that space, well, guess what? I lose my angel standings. So I can't run any PvE at all for my alliance, because if I do, I lose standings for the militia that I'm trying to enlist in. Or another barrier is like, some of these people have standings that are 10 years, 15 years old, and spending 3 to 4 hours running an epic arc in order to play the game. Why wouldn't I just play Fortnite? Why wouldn't I play Tarkov? Right? Why am I paying $20 a month to do that? Right? Spend 3, 4 hours grinding standings. I think standings are an archaic mechanic from earlier RPG systems, and I think an easy, potential fix is that instead of making all standings negative 10 to 10, make it 0 to 10, and then positive standings are the barrier, right? Don't make it negative, and then you're allowed to do things at 0, but there's like rewards and things that you gain for being loyal and positive to your related to your standings.
Do you think that
Again,
should like really stretch out to like, like, I mean, I'm wearing like maybe a hat of like a group that I'd like to support, and it only happens every Halloween that I get to support them. Is there any like love for the ideas that you have that you want to like for this revamp to make it so that you're not just making standings for the as a new player focused on just being a empire standings boosts, that you can kind of like jump into the pirate life right away type kind of thing, and in the focus of, is it something that you would extend to the pirates as well, or is this primarily a empires kind of thing?
I think it's everywhere. I think it's the entire game. I think that um I think that it's very important that um I think it's very important that we expand it to all. I think it's very difficult for players to envision a standing system that is more favorable and accepting. I mean, it's just such a pain in the ass. If you're in faction warfare fully enlisted, you have all these people, like you have to continuously run epic arcs, you have to continuously do it. It's just so much chore work that these players have to do in order to play the game. And I think it's a barrier for content, because like if the time that we have to run standings, like things to run standings in order to play the game, I think that is time that could be creating stories, FCing, PvPing, doing all these other things. Sure, some space chore work goes already, but Eve is such a chore game. There's so much crap that we have to do all the time. Hauling, logistics, intel, like there's just so much stuff, and it's just like standings for PvE is just insane. Or like, let's say you have to gain standings, and you've already, like, for example, Dread Operative and I were talking about this. He did every option to get his standings up. He did the Sisters of Eve epic arc, and he was like -10 because he used to gate camp in Kadama and Tamal and all that stuff ages ago, and killed tons of rats and stuff. And so he had to run all the oh my god, what's it called? The tags that you turn in data center sites. He ran all the Cosmo missions. He ran the epic arc, and it wasn't enough for him to enlist into Empire faction warfare. Like, and that took him 6 to 8 hours, and I applaud him for it. But like, it's fucking crazy to my mind that you have to grind an entire day just so you can play the game, and it's just, I don't know. I think it's just a barrier of access, because it turns people off. If I'm a new player, I don't want to I accidentally get AWOX accidentally, and then I have to do all this other stuff. I just,
Well, that's another good point, is that, and I mean, I'm a victim of, I mean, not just accidentally, but with reason, and there's a whole bunch of things that come behind AWOXing, you know. And I should have like a 9.99999 standing with the Galente. I have like a 6.0 standing right now. Like, and that's only after like a lot of work. And like you said, hours and hours of boosting that up, just to have, you know, some of the benefits that kind of come with that. And it's one of the things that's interesting is that the standing system and like the mission system feels like some of the most untouched in 20 years. Not exactly, because they didn't exist in the very beginning. I'm not sure about standings, but I know missions didn't exist at the very beginning.
Very beginning. Yeah. But like the missions haven't been revamped, right?
Really,
like,
besides epic arcs, and that's not a revamp. That's just a. And burner missions is the additions that they've had. No real revamp. Besides NPCs shooting at more than the first target that they've ever seen. But that was a big shakeup. But not really, you know, like there's no real big. That's it for a big shake. The biggest shakeup, I would say, that's like minor in what could be done to missions. I'm on more of a path of like we should train everybody in Eve to. It's a game that I feel like would be really easy to simulate PvE or PvP in a PvE environment. We don't have to take on 25 ships and feel epic. Like taking on one ship and feeling epic can be done, and you know it's proof in the pudding. With like that's how I feel every time that burner missions are an example of that. I would say.
Yeah, and I think a big problem with that is tags. So like the tags that you get from faction warfare missions, like are some of the tags you need for the items in the LP store, but nobody runs the faction war. Nobody really wanted to run the faction warfare missions because you lose the standings of the faction of the opposite faction. You kill
really
Kaldari
bad.
rats.
Yeah, that's why my Kaldari standings are like shit in a bucket, man. Like,
yeah,
nothing. Because they used to be actually one of the safest ways to make an insane amount of this before the frontline system. The frontline system actually came in and kicked it in the teeth. It said stop doing missions because missions were really safe, but there was the idea of it was really kind of brilliant. The problem was that if I like had to like you know a ship that could take down a stealth bomber really easy, I would get killed by the rats usually. So it was very hard to be you know you'd have to basically fleet down these single targets of people that have a very short time window, and it's very easy to go with like something like a stealth bomber that could accomplish these missions. Like reevaluation of the missions, I think would be really huge because I like the idea of gathering up people and going and doing something more than just plexing in Eve. I had a lot of fun doing that back in the day. I haven't done missions. I used to we'd go get like 7 missions each, and then we'd just go fly around the galaxy and go do those. And it was a fun little thing, but I could see how it was min-maxed into oblivion. And that's, I guess, one of the biggest problems with Eve. Sometimes fun activities become min-maxed down into oblivion.
I agree. It has been min-maxed to oblivion, and I think a lot of it's not fun anymore. So I
know that we do have a hard stop at 8 o'clock. I would love to just keep you on. I could probably chill out with you for like 4 hours and just like lament about the entire universe. And have a lot of fun with you, but I know that you are on a tight schedule, so I am gonna honor that. I know we're coming up on our hour here, so I want to make sure we have a little bit of time. Is there anything that we haven't talked about that you're very passionate about, or anything that you want to mention before we leave tonight?
No, I think people that are watching and the future viewers that watch this podcast, I hope I can earn your vote. I've been a stalwart supporter of our space and other people's spaces, like non-faction warfare, null-sec, npc-null, soft-null, wormholes, to name a few. And I want to be the voice of the groups that don't have a seat at the table. I think I've done that pretty well so far by reaching out to the various communities and trying to give them a platform and a voice. because I think it's so important that, CCP hears everything from multiple angles and perspectives, not just the big one, not just the big boys, but also the little guys as well. And I hope you all vote for me and put me at the top of your ballot, and let's continue the good progress we've made so far. So thank you.
Yeah, I do have to say that you've made my ballot a little bit harder this year, especially with all the badass work that you've done in the CSM. And I definitely think that you're going to be in our number one, number two slot for sure.
Well, I'm glad.
Yeah,
I'm glad I got the front line vote.
You got the front line vote. You got to hear. The ballot's gonna come out. We put out a ballot because everybody that watches this show, we hypnotize them and force them to vote in our direction.
Yes.
Don't tell CCP. We'll be banned. It's not. But it's magic. It's magic. It's dangerous.
Magic.
You can't prove it, but you can see the effect.
And I think we have to end our call. The lizard meme with the LP store.
Mm-hmm.
Guys, have you seen that meme? I'll send it to you real quick. Anyone has a lizard? Where's the lizard? I don't know if you've seen it yet, but we've been spamming this lizard for the LP store, LP wallet. Guys, spam lizards in chat.
I've seen it. I've seen it in Gal Mill for sure.
Oh, you have? Yeah.
Oh yeah, I've seen it. But yeah, if you want to post it in chat, go ahead. There's no blocking.
Oh yeah. Oh, there's no. Is it? Hold on. Yeah, dude, the lizard is.
We're not that popular that like people aren't assholes so far. It was you know why there's a thing that says no running by the pool? It's because an idiot did a lot of running and then like broke his leg and like killed somebody by accident, and they were like, you know what? We gotta like stop that. We put up a sign. My stream is that way, that it's like, as soon as we get to like a barrier where okay, we're popular enough that like people cannot post links. That's against the rules.
No, I think you've. I also liked. I also liked your interview with CCP Burger. I love.
Oh
Burger.
Yeah, no, Burger is epic, dude. I like. I hang out with him every fan fest, and it's funny. Like my wife, who plays a little bit of Eve, like she comes out on Wednesday nights every once in a while. When she has time for it, and she's been playing Eve for like 15 or so years or whatever, and she's like she loves FanFest. She's like, this is like the most sociable, crazy place that you can ever go to, and every year she's like, I'm going to like we got to buy tickets like immediately upon like we're at FanFest, and it's like tickets are on sale, we buy it, yeah, okay here we go, we come back. And CCP Burger is one of the people along with CCP Swift that I hang out with a lot. Those are my dudes that I want to talk to and hang out with. We have a lot of fun, do a lot of drinking. And Samson got pulled aside by CCP Burger. I got pulled aside by CCP Burger multiple times throughout the thing. And his interview was one of our most unique, different kind of like things I've never. Yeah. That's our first interview with CCP, by the way, because we kind of like we're Galente. We're not a super popular podcast. We're not a super popular like stream, but we exist, and we get like, I mean, like when I go to FanFest, people are like, "Hey, you're the faction warfare guy." Yeah, I know you. Like, I do have like,
yeah, it's good.
Hundreds and then thousands, hundreds of people that watch, kind of like daily or like weekly, and then we have, like thousands of people that know about me and stuff, and we're always having fun. And I don't want to be like super big, because to be honest, I could just go to a big null block and push really hard. But it's really nice being in this like really niche kind of like the super niche, like
you found
the people
your home.
Who watch I found my home, and I did have a lot of fun. I used to be goons. I used to hang out and party a lot with those guys, and the partying was so much in Madison. I was like, I gotta like, this is my group. Like they're all in Madison. There's like 100 fucking goons in Madison. It was so fucking crazy. I still get story told to by Scion.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Wow. Not too long ago, we did a Vampire the Masquerade campaign.
That's
did
cool.
A mage game with him, and we did like a bunch of other stuff. Like he's really big into storytelling for D&D and stuff like that. He's super cool guy.
Cool.
But in any case, I want to make sure that we're coming up in the last 2 minutes here. So, is there anybody that you want to shout out to? Vampire the Masquerade mentioned. Yes, I have to say yes. It is yes. I murder. I do love the Blood God. I found vampire. Anyways, sorry. Do you have any shout outs that you want to give, or any mentions, or anything that you want to talk about before we wrap things on up here?
Yes. I have 3 shout outs for my 3 boys. Drake Gidon, Dujek, and Mick Master, and Oz as well. I think they have been my closest collaborators. Also, shout outs to Kaz. Kaz and I feel like just like to yap. Zintage is a bro. I mean, everybody on the CSM's great this year. For those who are especially running, I wish them absolutely best of luck. But I would love those 4 or 5 to be able to work together again. Would be absolutely fantastic. We got so much stuff done this past year. I think we get more stuff done next year as well. So
awesome.
yeah,
And so,
Mick is the bro. All of them are so cool. Drake is awesome. Like Drake's my selectee buddy. So
nice.
we were the package deal. But
yeah,
he's cool.
hell
He's
yeah.
cool. So
Awesome.
yeah.
So yeah, and thank you so much for coming on, and we are at time here, so thank you for coming to the very end here, and have a good one, man, and good luck on your campaign.
Thank you. See you soon.